Hello again. I'm happy to see you.
I'm very happy as well. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Likewise, I'm very excited about this podcast because I've been thinking of launching a podcast for some time, and I mentally had a list of guests. But I'm very excited that you happen to be the first one on my
No
list.
pressure on me.
on because like my idea was, since I speak three languages, Uzbek, Russian, and English, and to myself I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna make three podcasts, one in English, one in Uzbek, one in Russian, and I've been in a professional um, environment as a working professional woman for a very long time. So I had images of women who I would love to bring on camera and who I would love to introduce to my LinkedIn or to anybody who's in the same industry. So I'm very happy and I'm very grateful to you that you have agreed right away. By the way, thank you so much for willing to, take this journey with me, because this is like a pilot as well.
But I was thinking this podcast would be in Italian, not in English.
Well, maybe my idea is going to give you an idea of running your own podcast in Italian.
No, for sure.
I know you have a very busy schedule, so probably, well, you never know. You
Of
never
course.
know. I never thought
Or
that
you
I would
learn
do-
Italian. Maybe it's also possible. I can teach.
It's a good idea as well, yeah. Margarita, once again, I'm very excited and I'm very happy to meet you. We had the other day when we met in a non-formal environment, just to put as I love to say, just to put a face on a name. We had a really, really genuine and very open discussion about your work, about your intentions, about your desire with your project. By the way, congratulations once again on winning the bid
Thank you.
for the project that is funded by the World Bank. Before we start, today, primarily we're going to talk about your professional, your educational background, and my intention is to shed light on the activity that you're planning to conduct within the next months during the project in Uzbekistan. So maybe we should start from your educational and professional background. Who is Margarita?
Of course. Well, I'm a lawyer by education, but a consultant by profession. So I can say that it's around 8 years that I work in the management consultancy, covering many post-Soviet countries and beyond. I worked also in Indonesia, in Africa, in Turkey, hopefully expanding to other regions. And I would say very proudly that one of the major topic, one of the key area where my work is focused is actually women empowerment, a topic that I'm sure as both women is very close to us, especially because there is still so much to do everywhere in the world to ensure that women take their part in economic independence, in self-esteem in certain cases. And this is actually what we are planning to do also in Uzbekistan under the project you mentioned. The project entails the training of rural women in the region of Bukhara and Navoy. So in these two particular mahalla, we plan to train 2,000 women, whereas 1,500 will be trained in Tashkent and Sirdarya. So what we aim to do? We actually aim to provide these women with the basic, I don't want to say basic, but the first step, the first type of knowledge, hand-in knowledge. So we want to jump in to give them the opportunity to familiarize with the concept that yes, they can make it, they can run a small business, they can scale it up, they can make it successful, they can even employ other people, even men, why not? so that they can grow and thrive not only for themselves but for their family, for their kids, which I believe it's a very important message and a great opportunity for them.
Thank you. That's very helpful. But I just want to roll back a little bit. Not everybody understands the concept of the project and how it is initiated, how it comes to life. And if you can explain it from scratch, what is a project? What's the background behind the project?
The concept is to explain the steps, okay, and the ultimate goal, because every mahalla has its own problems and every mahalla has its own unemployed women or women that are engaged in informal sector. So for sure, the World Bank, as well as the Ministry of Employment and Poverty Reduction, can hardly scale up a project throughout the entire, all the mahallas of the country. It would be, you know, massive, and already gathering 3,500 women will be a very hard task. To engage them, to retain them into the training, to keep them motivated. But what is the ultimate goal is to form classes, give them these instruments on how to open a business. Of course, it's our role as consultant, since we are guiding them, also to guide them in which economic sector they should focus, meaning that there is no point of opening I just give an example. I mean, solar batteries operation and maintenance business if there is no solar panel, you know. So of course it will be our role to identify the sector that have higher potential to grow, that have a value chain material to a certain extent. And while we train these women, we can try to suggest them where to focus. It could be agricultural processing. It could be, for instance, textile, since textile is very strong in this country. And then on the basis of that, we will, once the women will develop their business plan, we will be in the position to evaluate their business idea, rank it, and the most successful will also receive matching grants, which means the benzene, the oil, to fuel their business idea. Now, you know, for sure, the ultimate goal of this program is to create taxpayer and to create people that can generate at the same time, in the near future, additional employment. So I would say that the overarching goal of the project is not to, as the Latins would say, hic et nunc, to generate business here and now, but to ensure that in the medium-long term, this result is sustainable. And that's why, to be completely honest with you, Mida, I believe the projects will face a lot of challenges because, you know, it may not be difficult to find 2,000, 3,500 women, you know, especially if you promise them money at the end of the day. But the difficulty would be to find the women that really are motivated to change their life. So as such, every business training that entails capacity building for rural women and vulnerable women cannot just stop at the technical competence. It has to have another element, and this element is psychomotivational. Is to push them beyond their limits, is to understand if they are ready to fail, because every business activity entails failure. And from failure you learn, and then you move on. But they have to be ready for that. So finding this profile in Olot, in Peshku, in Bukhara, for instance, I remember some mahalla, it would be challenging. Same for Tashkent, Buka.
Yes, that was in Buka.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just to give some example. So yes, that would be the major challenges, and we discussed this challenge together with the project, with our team of consultants engaged with the Ministry of Employment and Poverty Reduction. So you see, I guess we will learn step by step to profile the women we are working with and to ensure that we tailor a program that is really responsive to the needs. Because one of the biggest mistakes, unfortunately, that very often happens in consultancy is to, forgive me the terminology, to copy-paste a model and then to replicate it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 countries. You know, the fact that something worked in Uganda doesn't mean necessarily that it's going to work in Uzbekistan and vice versa, because every culture has its own nuances, every every country has its own problems, starting from my country, that probably is the most problematic one. So, so yes, it will be an adaptation process, a fine-tuning process that eventually, inshallah, will end us to the end result of empowering some women. If not 3,500, even if we empower 500, I would consider it a good
Success.
result. Yeah.
Success. That's very interesting, and thank you so much for giving all the details. But if you don't mind, I really want to suggest to speak about in more details. Who's your target audience? Well, if you could just draw a portrait of a your target audience, your one of that woman among those 3,500 that you're aiming.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that we will not find them on LinkedIn, but so I'm not sure they will see this podcast. But if you
That's true, but
if you are part of an NGO, of an association that works with women, probably you can reach out to these women. And,
that's my goal.
And who we are looking for? We are looking for a woman that is okay, not formally employed, is okay, it's not engaged in official business activities, but most likely already does something informally. I mean, I've been working in Uzbekistan already 3-4 years, and I can tell that women are probably the strength of this country, a very silent strength. So I'm sure that in every household there are women that maybe do some sewing job for some petty cash, they cook something for some money. So you see, already the flame of entrepreneurship is inside them. What they miss is just a structured business approach, a business plan, and of course the money. The money to make it concrete. Maybe the money necessary to buy that equipment or asset that will enable them to improve the capacity or improve the productivity. So it's very difficult right now, Mida, to tell you exactly via bullet point, like headhunters do for CV, how this woman should look like. There will be very different people. And of course, the project cannot refrain, in my opinion, also to attract women that maybe are completely, far away from entrepreneurship. We cannot ignore them. There will be a percentage of women, maybe from the Iron Book, or from very vulnerable categories that we must engage. But for sure, the key would be to find those that have the right motivation, either through informal engagement into some activities in their houses, or through their expression of interest in training in mono centers, in vocational training centers. Because already if a woman knows that she needs a training, if she knows that she wants to improve some of her skills, it already means that she's ready to commit herself to the next step. I don't know if this answered your question. It's for sure a very big question mark. So, of course, I will rely on your community, on on the many viewers, I hope, of this of this
Hopefully,
podcast.
fingers crossed.
Operate in this region. They are active with NGOs or with other associations that know women. LinkedIn, social media, they are very powerful instrument, but I'm a little bit old school. So I believe in the power of hearsaying,
Сарафанное радио.
Yes, mouth of words.
In Russian.
So, if you know someone, then you know some other one, you can contact us, of course, the project, us that are seeking now or are looking for these women. And, at the end, it's a social project. So I believe that all women should have the mandate, okay, to contribute, because it's all about
sisterhood or women supporting women, after
all.
all.
Of course.
And that I totally agree with you when you say I believe in the power of word of the mouth, and especially in places like in Uzbekistan, that's the strongest instrument that helps. For example, if one of your trainee women really gets to the point when she realizes, oh, I'm being selected for the tangible and useful project, why don't I bring my friend she's also interested in creating something and adding some value in,
of course,
making some steps to sustain herself.
But this is actually why among the preliminary activities, we discussed this on Sunday. Yes, we are now developing the training content, but just to make sure that it's really responsive to the needs of the potential trainees, we plan to run a pilot session in April, May, basically, so that, already by targeting 200 women, we will kill with one stone, two birds. On one side, we will test whether the methodology and the training structure module is okay in terms of, if it's too complicated, the language is not just or doesn't match the skills of the women. If it's what the women want, because again, maybe some of them will be more sophisticated than others in terms of financial literacy or costing. So we will need to have a sort of spectrum and flexible approach to ensure that every class receives the level that they deserve. And yes, and on the other side, the second bird that we kill with this stone would be, of course, the word of mouth. That if the women are happy, if they enjoyed the training session, of course they will go back to their community and they will share this experience that for 5 days they had a nice trainer, they learned something, that in any case they have I don't know, a new idea that may change their life. Then, of course, Sumida, we have also to be pragmatic and realistic. We will not create the Silicon Valley with this project.
It's very good that you're saying this up front, because it's going to help to lower the expectations probably for some women who are aiming very high, ambitious goals, but the scope of the project is not designed to create a Silicon Valley. The scope of the project is much more down to earth, much more realistic, that matches the reality of those rural women.
Yes, absolutely. Now, why I'm telling this, because, it's very okay to be ambitious. I believe that neither myself, neither you would be here if we were not ambitious women. But then you have also to cope with the reality of things, the way I see it, even if we still didn't start, we have not started yet the training, is that many of these women maybe will be working in the service sector. Perhaps they will, I don't know, open bakery shops rather than beauty salon, for instance, or other small activities. Some of them will do something more complex. It could be agricultural processing, because we already had preliminary data this morning on some of these, mahalla, and we already saw that in some there are, let's say, more advanced, to a certain extent, value chain that it's worth exploring. But of course, in these cases, if we want that women engage in more remunerative and complicated subject, then there must be also a very clear plan on engaging them in more technical training. I mean, I'll try to rephrase, probably I was not clear. It's not enough to give them the instrument on how to open a business and how to operate a business. It's enough if you have, again, a service business that could be, I don't know, again, the bakery shop, the tailor shop, or whatsoever. But for instance, for women that aim maybe to have I don't know, construction related it will never be the case for cultural issues, of course, but it's just an example. Construction related business, production of certain material, then there should be the subsequent step to provide them with the real knowledge on this field. And this is actually what we have been doing also under another project here in Uzbekistan, funded by the Asian Development Bank, where basically, we realized that in the energy sector, despite there are many girls, enrolled in engineering faculty, still many of them don't actually perform engineering work. They end up doing administrative stuff. So in that case, to overcome this stereotype, this cultural barrier, what we proposed was to develop a new module to promote energy auditing in public buildings. So a new sector, energy planning, management and audit, where is not yet male, which is not yet male dominated, where women can participate because the equipment is not very heavy, they can carry in their own bag. It's not on
It
field.
doesn't require physical work, it requires more intellectual, more mental work.
Also for auditing plants, industrial plants, there is intellectual work. I don't want to undermine the poor engineers.
But the most important part is that for female,
they would feel more safe, and not exposed to field work or
hazardous elements. Or
exactly. So this is just an
area.
example that, again, the more technical this project aims to go, in terms of business idea, the more it will be necessary to provide a real adapted solution to enable these women really to practice this job. Because otherwise it's just a statement of intent. Maybe me and you, for instance, we live in Peshku, we decide to develop a business plan, and we propose to do, I don't know, a startup doing drones, okay, for instance, because we like to repair, electrical stuff. Fine, it's a very beautiful idea, for sure, it's, remunerative, but then you will need real support. You will need real training.
This is how I see it so far. This is a very useful and very valuable tool that is going to give, let's say, my neighbor in Andijan, who has entrepreneurial spirit in her, and she always, for example, in summer, she takes orders from people and she takes orders and then she sews tote bags, let's say.
Yeah, correct.
But what is she lacking? She's lacking funding. She's lacking funding that's gonna allow her to get 2 machines instead of 1 machine that she has. And she's lacking some technical expertise in terms of running this as a small micro business. This is going to be a tool for those women who are willing to have their own money by doing something,
Yeah.
even sitting at home.
Sure. For the sake of clarity, just to avoid misinterpretation and unattended expectation, of course, not all of these 3,500 women will receive the matching grant. Okay, not all of them will receive financing. But for sure, even those that do not receive it, at least will be exposed to how to structure a business idea and possibly how to find alternative ways for financing. Not every business idea requests a huge investment at the very beginning. So, you know, even for instance, your friend, if she already does this, it means that she has already the equipment, you know, to sew the tote bags, right? So probably instead of money, what she's missing is an organized way on how to improve the capacity, reducing the cost. For instance, if you buy 1 meter of textile, it has a price, but if you buy 100 meters of textile, just a stupid example, of course, it has another price. So all these items will always be, I mean, this knowledge will always be also to those women that unfortunately scored a little bit less in the business plan, but will still have the opportunity to put it into practice. And maybe why not? Maybe access to some microfinance opportunity or some other initiatives in Uzbekistan. I know now there are some banks that are launching microfinance instrument. This just to be clear, Umida, that of course the project is not in the position to give to all 3,500 the matching grant.
Let's speak about matching grant, because matching grant word has been coming up during this discussion for many times now, and I guess that's I see it as a light that is going to attract a lot of women. Of course, you will have a filter that's going to allow you to, it's by its own name, it's matching grant. The key word in here is matching. So if you're referring to grant,
depends on perspective.
Let's speak about the matching grant.
Yeah.
If you can share about the range of those funds or requirements, or how the process is going to be organized in order to qualify for that grant.
Yeah,
apparently you have some requirements.
At this stage, as you're aware, the project just started. We are still discussing the details of the requirements and the way it will be applied. The criteria will be applied with the minister and the PIU. So I'm afraid I cannot give you too many details because it's not final yet. But for sure, the grant should match whatever is proposed in the business plan. So as part of the training, our idea and our concept is that women learn to give a price to what they need to do the business. Mm-hmm. And the value of money they will receive is based on what they need to purchase or what they need to operate to run their business. So it will not be something that is done lump sum, let's put it this way, irrespectively of whatever business you propose, but it will be strictly linked to the business plan that the women present. And this also makes, quite a logical sense, because maybe for opening, I don't know, a cleaning business, yes, you need equipment, but you don't need as expensive equipment, perhaps, of more technological agro-processing to make biological juice, for instance, because there you will need special machine that calculate the pH of the fruit, HSE, standard procedure if you want to sell it in supermarket and so on. So this just to give you an example that, of course, depending on the sophistication of the business, the value of the matching grant will
vary. Are you going to propose some business ideas?
Yeah, as I said before, we are already analyzing the sector that have potential for value chain. We will not propose the business idea on behalf of the women. No, we will not do their business plan. We will not tell them what type of business they do.
But the industry,
But the industry
pointing
and the
out
sector,
to the industry and
that
sector.
in that particular district, not region,
Mahalla.
Hokimyat, Mahalla works very well. We will tell them, we'll say, okay, you know, here, for instance, just now opened a factory on livestock, for instance. So you have the opportunity to, you know, help them in breeding, in doing some small business for the small lambs, for the animals. I mean, we will give this indication, but I believe it would be a very big mistake to tell them what type of business they need to open, because in this way we would undermine their motivation. They will be told on what to do. Maybe they don't have any vocation to do that. Maybe they don't like that particular sector, and you know, when you don't like your job, you are
Not happy.
No, but you will fail, because again, especially in the startup of any business, and I speak also for personal experience, there are a lot of challenges. So either you are motivated even when you fail, or if not fail, when you have big problems, by a higher goal. But if you also don't like something, you do something you don't like, you have no hope to survive in the business. So it will really depend from them to choose what to do. And we should follow their inspiration. The key and let's say the heart of this project is the motivation, is the people that really want to change their life. Because trust me, even in this training, if my experience has taught me something, there will be people that will drop off. There will be people that will not come every day, and they will advance excuses. They will say, you know, my mother-in-law was sick, my kid was sick, I was sick, I had to go there, I had a funeral. Maybe it's true, but often it's not. Simply they find something more interesting to do and they just drop the training. And our goal is to avoid from the very beginning to invite these people to the training.
Of course, because your ultimate goal is to have higher conversion of in a filter,
Yeah,
in a
retention
pipeline,
rate.
retention rate.
Yeah. I still believe that the hardest part will be to ensure that this business training convert into something tangible. Because, you know, if we have just to meet the quota, we can do. I'm confident we can do. The problem is to ensure that they turn into something real, you know, not just 5 days training or, you know, mentoring and follow up, but something real, something that in 1 year will still be there. Possible.
200 women under the pilot for April and May.
Yeah.
And then summer, July, August is going to be your time when you get to evaluate the pilot results.
No, the pilot results for the content of the training will be available in May already, not in July. In July there will be additional classes. In June, in May, June, July, there will be additional classes. We have not the luxury just to stop and wait 3 months to evaluate the results and stop completely the classes. For sure, again, as I said to the client some days ago, there will be periods that will be high intense because, you know, the weather permits, because the business season is not very high for those, for instance, that work part-time in summer in touristic services in Bukhara, for instance. So there will be period where women will be more available and more keen to join classes, and period that will be a little bit downside. So we will need to balance in our work plan, as you know, the number of classes according to the needs of the trainees, of course.
We're almost done. We've talked for probably an hour, and I see that you exhausted. But at the same time, you're tired, but also relaxed because the content is good. I'm personally enjoying it. But Business aside, let's speak about you.
No, I'm not that important.
Who are you as a person, as a woman? As a conscious woman, if I want to run a business with someone, first of all, I'll try to understand that person, as a man, as a woman. What are her values?
No, I mean,
who is she?
yes, but
who she is?
this question to me always sound a bit odd because
As much as you want to share, like
no,
what
okay,
what
but
are your
you know, when you ask somebody what person are you, he or she will always give the perception that she or he has of himself or herself. So I can tell you that, okay, I think that I am a very
modest, I can tell from
no,
your
a
words.
very demanding person, but then somebody will may, you know, translate my, I mean, the feature that I'm demanding with
Negative context.
yeah, with a negative context or negative perception. Or I can tell you that I really loved my job, and I think everybody would agree with that. I don't think anybody would.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but my point is, I just want to see a woman behind this. What woman behind this?
Look,
behind this project, behind this big ambitious goal that you're aiming. I just want to see. Does Margarita like cooking? Does she like playing piano? Is she interested in music? Does she like reading? I just want to shed a bit of light on your personality as a human being.
Look, I think I'm a very strange person. I mean, I don't think there is other adjectives to describe myself. I have always had a huge passion for post-Soviet countries for some very strange reason.
Where does it come from? I
don't
wonder.
know. I really don't know. I mean,
From books you have read, maybe, or how did you get familiar or with the culture itself to start with?
I don't know. I mean, I know already that when I was a kid, I was, I don't know, reading. Vabbè, it's very political. I don't know if I want to, but I was very interested about Soviet Union. I mean, because you know, from Western perspective, we have a side of the story which is filtered a lot, and I didn't have any person who actually lived it. I mean, I'm a kid from the 90s, okay? So, okay, the world was getting globalized, but it was not yet common to, you know, meet people from Uzbekistan. I mean, I never met people from Uzbekistan up until 2006, I believe, in UK for summer school. So I've always been very curious. I've been curious about philosophy, and as such, I've been reading Marx, Engels, Plato, with this idea of communism. Then I think things got worse when I was 14. I was in UK, in Cambridge, and I was sharing my room with a girl from Kazakhstan. So for 1 month I lived with this friend. She's still my friend, actually, Anara. And you know, I started getting exposed to this part of the world, which was always very fascinating to me culturally, because, okay, you know, this is a geographic area with centuries of history, you know. It's not, as Italian, for us, Italians are very careful to the history of one country, you know. So I really respect the countries that have
long-standing history.
Yeah, a solid heritage. And of course, this is the case of Central Asia as a whole. Uzbekistan, I mean, Alexander the Great came here. You know, Timur was a great empire. So it was always very, very fascinating to me. And then I went to Azerbaijan 10 years ago for the first time, only because I watched a documentary on TV at midnight in Italy.
So
So yes, I mean, somehow I feel that getting close to this part of the world was always in my blood, because you know, it's not very common in Europe that people already at a very young age, when they are 20 or so, they know so much about this part of the world. Maybe nowadays it's different, but when I mean, 15 years ago, at least nobody knew what Azerbaijan was in Italy, where Uzbekistan was in my network. I mean, among teenagers or something of that around that age. So I've always been attracted. And I always joke with my mom that I want to do a DNA test, because maybe now we're
It has to be somewhere in my blood.
Yeah, from the past.
It's flowing in my veins.
I don't know, maybe somebody was with Marco Polo coming here, I don't know, some dirty business happened, I don't know. And that's how I have this in my route. Often they tell me I look Tajik. I don't know if this is true.
Yeah, some features. Yeah, eyebrows, unibrows, and fair skin.
Yeah,
Fair
sometimes
skin.
they tell me I look Uzbek, sometimes Azerbaijani. So you know,
you do have some
I have
Oriental
some,
facial.
Yeah. Nobody.
Features.
It was very funny actually. Some months ago, I'll tell you to have some fun. I was here in Tashkent at the hotel, and there was a delegation from Italy, from one university, and you know, I heard them speaking in Italian, so I jumped in, because I'm always happy when I hear Italian abroad. And I started talking, and then they stopped, they looked at me and said, "Wow, you speak very good Italian. Where did you learn?" I was like, okay.
Of course, I'm Italian.
I said, "I'm Italian." Okay, we kept talking, and after another 5 minutes, they were like, "But your parents also are from Italy?" I said, "Okay, if you want, I show you my passport, you know. More than that, I cannot do." So, yeah, I mean...
Just like I told you when I first met you the other day, from the first look, I looked at you, you are so Italian. From a very first moment.
I mean, the Italians don't agree, apparently, but yeah.
You're a very unique Italian woman in Uzbekistan and Central Asia.
Yeah.
Putting a lot of efforts to empower women in Central Asia, and it's very noble and interesting, and thanks so much. I believe... I was going to ask you one more question, but I see that you're tired.
No, I mean, it's okay.
I really wanted to cover the part how you ended up, because I see that this specific area, empowering women, and it gives you an immense pleasure, and how I really want to shed light on that side as well. Women empowerment, and how did you find out that you are a strong leader woman, willing to, because consulting business, like, you know, people, we have a lot of different opinions in terms of evaluating consulting business. Many people look at it like, oh, this is a joke, like they don't, some people don't, some people don't really give a certain value, like especially those hardcore professionals, like, I don't know, from IT world or from finance or from management. They look at and say, oh, consultants, you know, we get that.
I mean, first of all, consultancy is the job for the people, made by the people for the people. So as such, maybe it doesn't require, and forgive me this definition, a strong technical skill, but it requires a lot of empathy and understanding of the environment to propose something that is pragmatic and sustainable. So, you know, maybe it's not a solid profession like an engineer or a doctor, but still it has a value. And that's why even nowadays I believe that ChatGPT will never substitute us. Because, okay, maybe it can write some report or some parts, but when it comes to interaction with the people, the emotional...
Human aspect.
Yeah, the emotional intelligence, the sympathy, the natural, you know, overlapping of interest, of passion, will never be substituted. Then, put this aside. Why did I end up doing this job? Well, as you know, I'm a lawyer, and I can proudly say that I hate law. No, jokes aside, I mean, law, it's very beautiful, and it gives you the possibility to have a very analytical mindset, which I believe is helping me in my job. But for sure, I mean, if all businesses were regulated by lawyers, there would not be any business, okay? Because sometimes things get overcomplicated.
Too many restrictions, too many.
I mean, business entails risk, so.
Yeah.
And that's why even if I practiced law, after a while I decided to drop
Switch.
it. Yeah. And I ended up doing consultancy because I love being with the people since I was a kid. I enjoy different culture, and I mean, I'm a very curious person by nature, so I like to learn new things in different sectors. So that's why I have projects in life science, projects in livestock, projects on gender. But when it comes to gender as a woman, I don't want to say that I want to set an example, because that would be very imperialistic and colonialistic to say. But I believe that all women from the world should be given the opportunity to choose what they want to do of their life. Then a woman can decide to stay home, can decide to not work, but she should be given the opportunity to choose. So, as the daughter of a strong woman, I would like also to contribute to this, even if sometimes I fail. But for me, it's a sort of contribution with what I observed, with what I've done to other women in other parts of the world.
But consulting is not an easy job.
It is not, because again, between the ideal world and the practical world, there is always a very big gap. So, and that's where I believe you see the difference between a good consultant and a bad consultant, because doing consultancy just to tick the box and do the report is relatively easy, you know. And even just to make the client happy, he tells you, okay, I want this, you give them what you want. But sometimes you need, I believe, to stand up and propose something that works. And that's where consultancy should jump, you know. Okay, on paper you have this procedure, you have these KPIs. On the real world, I've been there, I spoke with the people, I tested what is written on paper. It doesn't work. Let's find another
constraints.
Yeah, let's find another solution. And I can openly tell that doing this job as a woman is also very challenging. But again, I believe that women have, it's a paradox, but they have one great advantage in working and doing business. And this advantage is that they are always underestimated. The more a woman is underestimated, the easier it is to
trigger her to do greater things.
Not only, but you know, when a person has very low expectation from you, and you know, treats you in a paternalistic way, you know, you can always prove them wrong. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have a huge satisfaction in proving men wrong.
I want to finish this podcast in a very soft and very Uzbek cultured, Uzbek natured way. How can we in Uzbekistan help you succeed in your efforts?
Well, again, if you happen to know a neighbor, you have a lot. So a good starting point. Just in the area, of course, of Bukhara, Navoi, and Tashkent and Sirdarya, in this mahalla. If you happen to know NGOs, organizations that have been active in this area with women, if you are relative or friend with one of those women, you can contact me. I can put you in contact with the other project staff that are now putting together the list, so that you help us reaching this very ambitious threshold of 3,500 women.
Sounds good. Certainly will do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
really very much enjoyed it. Okay, finishing our podcast. Just to draw a final, just to sketch a final lines. I would love to hear about your experience visiting. You've been in Uzbekistan quite many times. Tell me what you love the most.
The people, because people are still very genuine, very hospitable, and you know, I feel very safe. I really have great fun every time I come here, and I tell you honestly, I come with a light heart because in the past years I made a lot of friends.
Nice.
And I don't feel like I'm in another country. I feel I kind of understand a bit the culture. I have a lot of people. Actually, every time I come, a lot of people get offended because I don't have time to meet everyone. But
Time
yeah,
constraint.
yeah.
Of course.
But that's why I keep coming more and more often. And I hope I will have other work here so that maybe I can move here. Who knows?
We'll be happy to have you in Uzbekistan with all your expertise and all your efforts. Food, culture, music.
I like everything. Okay?
Nice.
Yes, plov, samsa.
Fruits, vegetables, seasons. We have
Yeah,
very
yeah.
vivid seasons.
History.
History, people. I guess right now we came to a logical conclusion of our podcast.
Yeah.
For the 10th time, but still, I personally enjoyed it so much.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you so much.
Looking forward to the next time when we'll get to
Inshallah.
discuss the results.
Thank you.
Thank you.